I think we've got an absolute banger of our hands.
Yeah, PSG versus Frank Esports. Frank, you know, they've clawed their way back all the way through the lower bracket, coming up to face against PSG and most importantly Junja, who's really just been a menace in the PCS ever since arriving. So many storylines here are going to conclude with tonight. Will Frank be able to find the upset that they've been working so hard for?
They're going to try find, and straight away, some different stuff coming out. It's actually the Airy picked up on the LeBlanc. Typically paired with the Qmax build, or at least 3 points Q, and it offers a lot of strength in the laning phase, but does come at the cost of having less wave clear, so potentially wants to play more for that 1v1 as opposed to moving around the map. Yubao as well does go towards the spellbook, allows you to take cleanse or another defensive summoner at level 6, adds a nice little bit of safety there.
Now, I want to see, it looks like we will have somewhat mirrored jungle pathing where both junglers seem to be headed towards bot lane, and with Rakan and Nautilus in this, we've actually seen, especially in the PCS, a lot of 2v2 kills happen with these two supports in particular, so perhaps that's what the junglers are thinking and wanting to head down there. But we will go into a pause. I'm sure we'll find out why soon. But looking at the team comps, where do you think it is that Frank can find an edge in this game to particularly take it over the line?
Oh, I mean, theoretically they should have a winning matchup top lane on paper, but I feel like that should be able to just, you know, slowly scale in isolation. I feel like this bot lane is going to be pretty volatile. You know, you've got Kaiser Khan coming up against Xayah Nort, you know, both pretty strong laners. Kaiser Khan is a little bit weaker, but I feel like, you know, as you hit around the level 6 mark, it hits a huge power spike. And I think that especially Eminem and Kybing, these guys have, you know, shown time and time again that they're not afraid of going for those 2v2 kills, and they've found so much success with it before.
Yeah. There is just a lot of volatility, I think, across the board, right? When you've got, you know, the Wukong LeBlanc as well as those very volatile bot matchups. I think as well, the way these teams play, especially in their bot lane, has been very aggressive. You know, how many times have we seen, you know, PSG or Frank picking up 2v2 kills very early on? And I think the fact as well that we have Waka on Xayah, Eminem on Kaiser is pretty hype, honestly, for the bot lane. Two kind of big playmaking ADCs, both the champs and the players.
Absolutely, and I think in this bot lane in particular, the early stages should go the way of Kaiser and Rakan, simply because Kaiser sort of has a bit more damage on that wave, level 1 particularly, as well as the range advantage for Rakan. But I think at level 2, you have to be way, way more careful as the side of Frank, and they are backing off early now, just try and not get chunked out so much from perhaps, I don't know, Woody Hook, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like Frank, they've had so many of their, you know, early game leads come off the back of the bot lane, so definitely do need to be careful and aware of the power spikes from the side of PSG. I think that Xayah Nautilus especially is, you know, one of those bot lane duos that can very easily snowball out of control.
It is, yeah. I think that definitely takes over not just the bot lane, but when they swap towards mid, it can kind of just allow you to have mid priority for the rest of the game, which is really, really important, and actually a bot lane fight already.
Yeah, fight is breaking out here. A lot of feathers going down, but will not have access to the Blade Caller, so Eminem just losing a lot of his health. It is Woody losing a bit as well, but he should be okay to sustain up having those 2 potions.
Yeah, not too great for Frank so far. They do have their jungler in the area, same with Junja on the side of PSG. I have to see if either of them choose to go for anything. You have to assume it's just going to be PSG crashing the wave and hopefully backing off looking for some vision.
At least for now, nothing is going to explode just yet. Though Yubao is in the river, probably going to drop a little bit of vision that bot side. Doesn't look like that will spot Hollow out though. And Gia though, he's going to try spot Hollow out on his own. I believe that did see the Wukong, so they do get confirmation, and that should allow the PSG lanes to continue to push, having that safety of having a jungler nearby and knowing exactly where Hollow is. And Hollow, we kind of saw in that pregame, has, I think it was the highest KP of any jungler, has certainly been a catalyst for a lot of these early game plays that Frank are kind of known for. And GG is looking for a dive bot already. They have mid and bot priority.
Yeah, PSG, they know that Hollow's pathing back towards the top side for that topside Scuttle Crab, and with Frank already chunked out from the earlier trade, they have to back off and miss a couple of minions here. Not too much else is going to come from that, but good heads-up play from PSG, making use of that mid-pro especially to just, you know, generate some extra pressure on Frank's bot lane.
They do, and they deny some creeps onto Eminem, which does feel very good. It does sort of come at a cost, though, of Syndra did have to TP back mid with less gold than the LeBlanc, so while you do get that kind of better win in the short term, maybe do have to worry about how the mid matchup might unfold later on, especially if Pretender does base with a pretty sizable gold advantage. Looks like he's going to stand. Solokil already has found himself a pretty nice lead here. I think a lot of the time we've seen in the Gwen Cassante matchup, things kind of stay pretty even up until that first item. And that's when the Gwen really comes online. But Solokil already is doing a lot of work. And if there is something we might criticize Arju for, it probably would be the laning phase. You know, has sort of struggled in these playoffs against some of the other stronger top laners.
Now, I want to sort of think about if they will look towards an early Dragon. Obviously, Dragon now is spawning, as you see there in the bottom corner of your screens. But I feel like in terms of the Dragon fight at this stage of the game, it might even favor the side of Frank, just having the power of LeBlanc and also the Wukong in these early skirmishes. They don't have any real melee outside of the Nautilus to set up Sejuani so much, so she loses a bit of power than you might perhaps see in other sort of team compositions. What is sort of like your thoughts around that?
I think that it probably favors PSG just because I feel like they have more lockdown. Like in the early game, right, people don't really have enough damage to have a long fight. Generally, all you have is enough damage to burst down one target. I think if you have something like, you know, the Nort hook that lands, it can be easily followed up by chain CC on the rest, whereas it feels like Frank CC is a bit more almost like conditional. Can be harder, you know, you're kind of relying on a LeBlanc chain to land, or, you know, a Rakan W to hit, stuff that is a bit more difficult. But looks like we're going to find out who actually is favored, as both teams are looking towards this first drag.
Yeah, PSG choosing to start it up. Dragon's now at 2k Frank. I think they're just going to end up giving it up. Hollow is really not interested this time. That's good because we've seen Frank, you know, sometimes overcommit a little bit too far in the early game. Recognizing that they're not really in a position to contest this time is a welcome sight.
Yeah, it looks like they will just sit back, wait for those one-item spikes. I think, you know, LeBlanc and Gwen especially do spike extremely hard at that first item. So if can get to that without being in a difficult state, it's certainly good. And Eminem, despite being denied a few creeps bot lane, has kept himself pretty even here.
Yeah, hasn't been able to opt for a cull similar to Waka. I think we've seen a lot of times in these best of 5 series where both ADCs end up buying the cull at some point or other, but I think on the Kai'Sa, when you choose to start the Doran's Blade, you don't really have enough space for the cull on top of that. And as a result, you know, he's not going to be able to hit his power spike quite as early as Wako on the other side.
Jinjia is now pathing out towards the top side. Peng's on his way to that top river. Potentially does want to play towards that Herald. I think they do have a lot of strength in this level 6 fight with the Sedge and the Syndra. Even the Cassante, if you can get into it, obviously is very strong. This bot plate, though, might be going down soon. It's very, very low, and I think if it does, there is more potential for this Herald to just come bot later, and you got to feel that putting your gold onto Wako is pretty much the safest basket you can put your eggs in.
Yeah, it definitely is. This guy performs every single game, really. You don't ever see him have an off game so much as Woody's hook will land onto a minion and not achieve too much. It is Hollow, though, who is getting early priority over at least the top side of this river. We'll have to see if they can really make anything happen to angle for it. The Rift Herald, of course, is spawning now in 10 more seconds. And I think, as you said, it does look like PSG are going to be able to control this area and most likely have the first look. Although it is solo kill with priority top, and so that makes it a little bit easier for the side of Frank.
I think as well, Yubao does seem to be kind of respecting Pretender pretty hard in the 1v1 right now. Obviously found himself at a little bit of a deficit previously. Jinjin starting this up, I'm honestly not too sure. I mean, he doesn't have priors in lanes currently, but Woody is going to be here a lot earlier than Kaiwing. I wouldn't be surprised to see this become a fight, though.
Yeah, Woody does get spotted on vision, but Kaiwing is a bit too far back to respond. PSG, if they want to look for a fight, they should look for it now, or at least try and finish off this Rift Herald as quickly as possible. Pretender, he's waiting on vision. He might actually get picked here if Yubao can find the angle.
Has to be so careful. There is a lot of CC that can come out. It is eventually Rift Shield picked up here for the side of PSG. Junji actually flashing away as all out under his tower goes Ozzy, but solo kill's okay to just ghost out for now and he'll be safe.
Feels like a little bit of a heist there from PSG. They did narrowly manage to get that Rift Herald and avoid any casualties on the way out. Was the flash burn by Junjia, but you have to say that's worth it.
Oh, nice dodge out of the stun there. As Pretender goes back in, he is now 3v1. He is going to get ulted up and hooked, actually. He's very low. No flash available, but is going to be able to survive.
Yeah, Wako doesn't quite have enough feathers there to find the route, but they do force out Pretender's flash, which is definitely pretty crucial, you know.
Solo kill, getting looked at. He is so low, but it's going to be first blood over to Arze, and Hollow comes a bit too late there. Nice pickup.
Yeah, very nice there from the side of PSG. I think importantly, that delays Gwen pretty significantly in that top side. It also means that Jinjia can just path down to bot now and not worry too much about this top side. As we'll see, looks like the recall had just come in from Woody. Arja chose the right moment. Ooh, so Solo Kill used his W very aggressively and didn't really find anything off it. Gwen W's around a 20-second cooldown, I believe. So it's very, very long. And if you use it at the wrong time, you can find yourself in trouble. And it ultimately was just a nice lane gank here from Jinjia.
Yeah, Solo Kill, we saw him playing so aggressively in the early game and getting the better of Arja, but ultimately that does come to a stop and he eventually gets punished by that, especially Arja not having the all-out from the previous Rift Herald skirmish. Definitely good looks for PSG. They've picked up a kill on the back end of that. That's first blood, and they've kind of secured the gold lead for now.
They have. Now, CS leads in those solo lanes do still favor the side of Frank, but Waku has himself a smaller CS lead here as Jinjia is around as well. Might look to try Herald bot on this cannon wave, which would be even more gold into Waku's pockets. Has that cull about to pop as well. Might be in for a payday.
Yeah, Frank, it feels like in the early game, they're definitely not doing as well as they would have hoped. We've seen Frank so many times in the past find success off the back of their early game, I guess, individual leads, but this time around, PSG, they're really just getting the better of them, as well as having the Rift Herald in their back pockets too as well.
Yubao is going to find the stun here. It is going to be Pretender really, really low again, but Ult actually committed out of Sejuani a little bit too late, and Pretender's able to get away with the distortion.
I feel like Yubao could have actually followed that up. I'm not sure if he was just respecting the fact that Frank's jungle support could be there, but I'm surprised he didn't go more forward, especially with that said, Joel. Looks like the Herald will be dropped mid. Potentially do want to make sure that that doesn't just stay up later on in the game, and getting a little bit of gold onto your heavy AP here in Yubao does feel pretty good. Second Dragon is being looked at already. Remember, cooldowns were just used mid though. Pretender has TP.
Archer is actually slowly making his way down as well. You can see him just about to pop into the mid lane. And from then on, with Frank, they have to kind of move back out. And I think it's going to be another Dragon going the way of PSG.
Yeah, clean performance here in the early game from PSG. Have managed to get themselves their first blood. I believe it was the first Herald. Now 2 Dragons. Kind of feels like they're doing what PSG does best of just slowly winning all across the map. Still have these CS leads in the solo lanes for Frank, which is the thing kind of keeping them relevant in the early game.
Yeah, I think now with giving over that second Dragon, you're going to start to really have to hope Solo Kill can do something here to like extend a lead on the side lane. Obviously, he did die once, which is really, really problematic, I have to say, for that sort of concept. But he does have himself a 20 CS lead as well as a plate up there in the top lane, so he is going to be able to find himself some gold and will have the advantage in the 1v1, and he has to push that, I'd have to say, before next Dragon, so there's a potential for Frank to contest.
Yeah, it does feel, I think, that Frank have to contest this third Dragon most likely in only 4 more minutes. They are a comp though, I think, that heavily spikes off their 1 items, so they shouldn't be too uncomfortable with contesting that, and I actually wouldn't be surprised to see PSG just end up trying to trade more gold on the other side of the map, right? Like if you could maybe knock down this top tower, give all the gold to Wako. Fight coming out top.
All out, he is too strong, and Jinjia does arrive, so is he going to be able to get out? He's stunned up forever and just goes down.
Yeah, clean CC chaining there from the side of PSG. Jinjia finding the permafrost as well as the ultimate too. Really just secures that kill, and that's 2 deaths now for Solo Kill.
Not the look you wanted to start with here. Does feel like that Sejuani Cassante 2v2 is just so strong, as we'll get a replay of it.
Yeah, RG takes Solo Kills through the wall with his all out, and pretty much, pixel perfect there, right into the waiting arms of Jinjia. From then onwards, it's kind of just history. Solo Kill, he tries to pop the W, but the stun lands while Jinjia's in the circle, and it just goes down without really any contest at all.
That is some crazy gank setup. Like, I don't think I'd ever respect that coming through, but was nicely played there from the side of PSG. Now have that mythic completed on the Cassante. The Jack Show picked up, I think, crucially, before the Rift Maker on Solo Kill means pretty good things for that matchup, honestly. We'll be able to keep it even, at least for now. There is still, I think, the element of Gwen does eventually just beat Cassante. Yeah. There's not a whole lot you could do about it, but delaying that and allowing you to kind of keep stacking dragons eventually forces Solo Kill away from that side lane. Now, 2.5 minutes on the next one. Still no first item completed on the LeBlanc or the Gwen. Mythic's now on Eminem and Hollow, though.
Oh, Pretender goes in.
Pretender goes in. He's going to get locked up, and it's a 2-man knock-up from that Rakan, but are they able to find damage? It looks like PSG getting the better of that trade.
Yeah, they do just back out for now on the side of Frank, but didn't have to invest any sums or anything for it.
Oh,
Pretender
No.
is going to make a crucial mistake there, gets stunned up and taken down by Junjie.
It's definitely tough, I think, because I think dying there might mean that he can't get Ludens in time for this next dragon. He must be pretty close, but I'm not sure if he has time to farm it now, which is very important. I think LeBlanc's biggest spike is typically level 11 and the Ludens, and if can't reach those, it feels like this third dragon just should go the way of PSG. Now, Herald fight.
Yeah, Kaiwing does go in, as well as a two-man Cyclone is able to land here. What damage can Eminem find? It looks like he's not actually even able to auto-attack. Hollow stunned up. He will use that clone to survive just a little bit longer as Junjie gets quite low himself. But it is ultimately going to be Hollow goes down. All Out comes through onto solo kill as well as the knock-up to follow. He's stunned up and he goes down now, as well as bot lane tower picked up from Wako. It is a disaster for Frank.
And now at PSG just winning all across the map. They're winning the fights. They've gotten all the objectives. They get a bot tower while they're fighting topside. It feels like PSG just are on another level here in game one. Luden's now completed for the Syndra. Gale Force on Wako. And I don't know how you're going to fight this next dragon as the side of Frank. We'll see how this began.
Yeah, Kaiwing finds the grand entrance onto one or two members. Yeah, just Junjie actually. And it looks kind of good with the Cyclone, but there's just not enough damage. Eminem can't really afford to walk any closer with Yubao just waiting there with the stun ready. And ultimately, they do have to back off, but Arj is here on the flank, cleans up Hollow and takes solo kill once again over a pretty big wall. And once again, Junjie is just in position to receive that. Yuba actually flashes over a cheeky little KS from him, but PSG getting so much gold from that trade.
Felt a little desperate almost from Frank. They, committed the Cyclone as well as a Rakan W very early, but
yeah.
Yubao was almost untouched despite that. I think got hit by the second part of Cyclone, but probably just because he felt so confident walking into it that nothing could be done to him. Looks like the Ludens and the Riftmaker have been completed. Frank, they're sort of all in on this fight, you think, but PSG, they have such a sizable gold lead. Feels like they should just be able to take both the mid tower and the dragon. There's not a whole lot Frank can do about it.
Yeah, almost 5k gold lead now for PSG at 16 minutes into the game. This third dragon is now ripe for the taking. Feels like PSG, they do have mid priority, or at least they have enough strength to be able to force that. Pretender's waiting on the flank. I think Junjie knows.
Yeah, it does get spotted out, so won't have that angle ready for him in this team fight. And you pointed out they do have those first item spikes, and this seems like probably the best chance they have at really being able to perhaps win a team fight and get some gold back into their carries. But I don't know that Kaiser, as well as really Pretender, or solo kill, are able to even really get through this tank that is the Sejuani. She goes in 1v3 at the moment as he comes over the wall as Pretender tries to get away. Both ult and distortion are used here, so he does survive, but pretty big cooldowns as we come towards this dragon that's alive.
Yeah, Rift Shield does go down. Eminem is able to pick that one off with the eye, but PSG, they muscle so much territory away from Frank, and Junjie is just on a rampage.
Yeah, Junjie just constantly dashing in. He doesn't take any real damage there, but Pretender is half health now as Ozzy's the next brick wall to try and get through. Constant stuns as well, found by Yubao to just keep whittling away at these health bars, and they're trying a different angle now, but PSG have priority over this mid wave and could even just look to push it.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues here for Frank is that Pretender keeps trying to find angles, but PSG, they have so many good CC tools to try and pick him off. When he's used the distortion already, he's trying to find a flank now, but PSG, they're just so much stronger.
Ozzy sees him, and there is a fight going out. Hollow does find one with the Cyclone. That's not enough. Null dice. Nice double grand challenge, but what are they going to be able to find? Solo kill is untargetable as Wako goes down to Pretender on the side. The fight is breaking out. Eminem's trying to do what he can do, but he doesn't do any damage to these tanks. They do find Wako, but 3 down so far as Eminem does not get hit by that knockup, but it does seem like Ozzy will be able to chase him down. Nice dodge out. He is going to be dodging the hook as well, but Stun will eventually find him. He does go down here. It is a 1 for 4.
Off that, PSG should be able to get this third dragon, and it feels like Frank are almost out of this game so early into it. Found themselves a pretty good flank, even a nice engage. They did manage to take out Wako before he even really got to deal any damage, but they're just so far behind. They don't do enough damage, and you kind of saw the way that fight started. It feels so bad if Solo Kill is already just like, not pressuring RG to walk to the fight late, isn't got priority on the side lane, and we'll kind of see how it unfolded.
Yeah, Pretender, knowing that he can't do much on the front as LeBlanc chooses to go around the pit, but RG kind of spots him out. It doesn't stop Pretender from getting some damage eventually, but you can see how Hollow finds the initial engagement with Kaiwing following up with a huge grand entrance onto 2, but once again, Eminem is just not able to get quite close enough to dish out his DPS, and Pretender picking off Wako off the back end of this as well. Forcing the flash too is really huge from him, but after that he's kind of out of the fight, and PSG, their 4 members are just way stronger. Eminem, he's so scared to walk up because there's so many tools that can just shut him down. And this is kind of why you have to question, was not taking Cleanse the right idea, because it doesn't really let him play aggressive in these crucial team fights.
I'm not sure Cleanse would have saved him, though, to be honest. It feels like the game is just a bit too far gone. Wako is so consistently the carry of PSG, but this game really doesn't have to do a whole lot, as the top side is just so fed. Pretender, the 1 kill for Frank, stopping them from getting perfect gamed, but if you're getting almost perfect gamed in game 1 of the finals, it's not a good look.
I will say though, in almost a lot of our series, game 1 has just been an absolute clap. Like, to be honest, and so I don't know that this is necessarily the worst sign of things to come. Obviously, you don't want to see this repeated, but I think with a little bit of change the early game, it can be better. But ultimately, it was Pretender who found that kill, but only 613 damage in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were good looks in that fight for Frank, right? Kaiwing did find that really good engage onto the 2 backline members of PSG, but once again, there's just not enough damage for PSG. Starting to reach the point where they can just slap Frank with their wallets and get away with almost anything. Especially with how Junja's playing, he just keeps dashing in without a care in the world, and fully knowing that Frank at this point in the game, they don't have enough damage to take him down.
No, and if they can't take him down quickly, he's got that Warmogs just to heal back up. So it's really Unleashed in this game, can do pretty much whatever he wants. As Yubao, he does collect that top tower. Even more gold for the side of PSG. Now 7,000 gold ahead at only 21 minutes into the game. Have 3 dragons as well, and it feels like in 3 more minutes, this game just might come to an end.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you'll be able to get the items required here to be able to contest that dragon. I think now Eminem just needs those boots. He will get the upgrade on E from that, and that it will be a big boost to the ability of Kaiser in these team fights. But ultimately, without the Navori or even an LDR, you aren't going to really be able to go through Arzi or Junjia.
Yeah, just so much tankiness already completed for the side of PSG, and on the side of Frank, yeah, like you mentioned, no LDR, and really just not enough DPS overall from Eminem. It feels like solo kill on the Gwen has to be the one, but when he's 0-4 on it, the carry top laner, it's so hard to have an impact in these team fights.
Especially with all that magic resist that's already coming in. The Banshees on Yubao, plenty of MR on Arj as well. And those are kind of the members that you have to get through before you can even, think about the likes of Wako. I wonder if Solo Kill will go for that Void second. He might, but that does still make you very, very squishy, right? Can be CC'd down and taken out very easily. Looks like he might be building towards it, though. PSG, currently, they're trying to push their vision a little bit further in. Might look on Kaiwing.
They are looking that direction, but Kaiwing passed fairly safely and is able to avoid any possible engage out of Woody, as Kaiser continuing to send out those Ws and hunt for vision and try and find these PSG members. It is Hollow though, he does get hooked up. Is he going to be able to escape? He is going to get knocked up here too, but nice Cyclone to deny anything further. But ultimately, that is Wukong really, really low, as well as his ult now down and flash. So Wako going to be so safe, as well as Yubao in this next fight.
Yeah, that's a key engage cooldown now down for the side of Frank, and PSG, not really having to invest actually, no, they did invest quite a few ults, so actually
3 ultis, yeah.
not the worst trade, but I think PSG being able to retain the control around the river for now is still a good look for them. Especially when Frank, it's so hard for him to face check these members consistently.
You know what feels quite sad is that it was like a fairly decent chunk from LeBlanc onto Junjia, but now he's just going to be back to full health anyway, so kind of just pads his own damage stats and doesn't achieve much more. When he gets to Shadow Flame though, he will have a better chance of taking out Yubao, I guess, but ultimately it is a Hex Drinker as well as the Banshee's already getting completed for both of these carries, and LeBlanc won't be able to find too much. I think on the upside of Gwen is she actually still does a fair amount of physical damage if you can auto, as well as true damage from her abilities, so she is maybe able to do a bit, but yeah, it's really rough to be LeBlanc in this game now.
It is, yeah. 15 seconds on the next Cloud Dragon, and you kind of feel like there is no way really to contest from Frank. We'll have to see if they do try and just Hail Mary it. Or maybe there can be some sort of trade. I feel like Baron is not really on the table, not enough DPS for that side yet. But maybe you can just hope for another Miracle team fight. Did have a fairly solid team fight before, unfortunately. Just really didn't have the damage to back it up. But PSG, they've started up already, and I don't think Frank can get here in time. Looks like it will just go over for free. Maybe they can cheese him on the Baron side. It looks like that's what they're going for.
Yeah, 4 easy, super easy dragons picked up for PSG. Now the Cloud Soul in their back pocket. Frank, they're trying to trade for some topside control, but how long are they realistically going to be able to retain it for? You have to imagine it's not going to be that long. Junji just walking straight in without a care in the world. Spawning out Pretender too. I wonder if they might look on him here.
They are looking to try and find him. What is Pretender going to do?
No.
He does dash over this wall. It does seem like he's just trying to buy time for his team to farm almost at this point. He doesn't really have a pathway out. He's going to commit the teleport, but should likely be found, rooted up and stunned. He's going to go down. It is Waka who finds his first kill of the game, and looks like they might turn their heads towards Baron.
They probably could. They are so strong. They can just look to force. Was the Glacial Prison invested, so don't have as many turning tools. You've still got the Nautilus Assault, though, and they started up. They have a lot of DPS. TP comes in from solo kill.
Yeah, Ozzy is guarding here, so we'll see if he can keep Hollow out of the pit particularly. It is still at half health, so there's quite a bit of time to work with as Junji happily is tanking it up, as well as Ozzy on the top side. Kaiwing narrowly dodges out of that hook from Usage to Shirelia's, but 2k HP, it does go over now to PSG. Fight erupts, Hollow's all out on the other side of the team fight. He's finding a fair amount of damage as four-man quickness is found. Eminem's trying to find what he can, but oh my goodness, Wako has done the Blade Caller and just absolutely eliminated Eminem. It is a team fight win. There's only one alive from Pretender respawning, but PSG are controlling this game.
Well, Frank, they really did try their best in that fight, but unfortunately it just wasn't good enough. You know, PSG, they're so far ahead at this point, up almost 10,000 gold with the Baron. They might, Pretender, nice dodge out.
He is going to go down. Oh, he's alive for now. Wako should likely find him. It is the ace eventually, and PSG now knocking on inhibitors.
Man, PSG just absolutely dumpstering that fight. Frank, it looks like they had some really good looks into that, especially Kaiwing finding so many with the charm and grand entrance, but Wako being able to clean up Eminem off the back of that fight really just sealed the deal for them. You know, it looked very briefly scary for PSG, but now, oh man, 10k gold in the lead. It's so hard for Frank to find a way back in.
It did, and we'll kind of see Frank, they try and contest in the 4v5. It feels like you sort of have to at this point, even though you know it's going to be a very uphill battle. Kaiwing did manage to dodge out the stun and the hook very early, so that kind of bought his team a lot of time at least to look at this. Baron did go down, and then, you know, Hollow, he kind of gets gifted and engaged into the backline, followed up by the Rakan quickness. It looks like all the tools are here for Frank, but it just takes so long to get through them, and Eminem is just deleted by Wako.
Oh, fight does break out again. It is all out again. Hollow's going to be found, so that is just a clean pickup now for the side of PSG, and all they really had to use was Cassante ult.
Yeah, PSG still remain in a very commanding position. No real surprises there. Now turning their sights towards that second tier bot turret. Look at that damage. Solico actually putting out so much in that last team fight, but it's just not quite enough there. It feels like now it's just they're in an even worse spot where, you know, how are you really going to get through Junjia and Arjun?
Does feel so hard, and I think credit to Frank have found honestly pretty good team fights.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really complain about the team fighting skill. Are just unfortunately so far behind, and the stats that come in from PSG are a bit too strong. 2 inhibs going down, and I wouldn't be surprised if PSG try and push for more.
It does look like they will for now. Looks like we might have our final stand here out of Frank. What can they really find? There's no flesh on Rakan. Nice Gate of the Week is going to find 2. Solo kill taken out so early in this team fight. It's all desperate now as Hollow goes in, finds 5, but there's no follow-up whatsoever, and Junjia is chasing down Eminem as the rest of the team looks to end.
Eminem's just a no man's land. PSG, they have the freest Nexus available to them. See if they're padding their stats a little bit. Oh, they're actually going to hunt down Eminem. Oh my god. This is a lot of commitment.
Yeah, this is some emotional damage that they're looking to inflict.
Oh, no.
It does go down. And that should be the side of PSG picking up game 1 here. Maybe they're going to try farm a couple more kills in the fountain. Currently 19-3. Do they see 20? They do not.
Like it.
Yeah, game 1 going the way of PSG in extremely dominating fashion. 19 kills to 3, and really in all those team fights, it feels like Frank, they had some good ways in, but after falling behind so far in the early game, there was just no way back in.
It wasn't. I think that, like you said, there were some pretty nice teamfight execution coming out from Frank, but if you fall that far behind in the early game, it's always going to be a very uphill battle. And I also want to say, from the side of PSG, possibly one of the cleanest games we've seen all split, and to do it in the finals means so much, right? Like, you get all the neutral objectives, don't give over any towers, all you've given over is 3 kills, winning all 3 lanes. Felt like they just won everywhere and just gave nothing back.
Yeah, and